And the thing is with the candidate side, remember what I said previously, that one of the outcomes that you want as a recruitment search owner, leader, manager, talent spotter, finder, search specialist, staff and agency, whatever term you're in, whatever sub-niche you're in, whatever flavor you're in, is it's very simple. There is a certain number of clients in your niche and there's a certain number of candidates in your niche. So if you're searching for that specific skill set, they exist within a certain number. So the analogy, going back years of, fish in a barrel. So what you want to have is, number one, a barrel. Number two, know how many fish are in that barrel. Then number three, a system that allows the best fish to come out of that barrel with speed and to you. So again, when we talk about search, well, my skill set's different. I need to go and find this CEO with this skill set and this experience and fill in the blank. Yes. But if you understand your market and you've mapped your market, you'll know that there might be 467 of those CEOs in your sub-niche. So wouldn't it be of use to you if you have all of them within an ecosystem where you can run an automated process, hit a button as such when it's set up, and you get an inbound response. So the first equation we want to look at is how many candidates are there in your market? So whether we focus on, for example, a member of ours who works in the nursing niche and they got 500,000 nurses in their database, and whether you're in a niche whereby one of our members is in the veterinary area, there's only 42 candidates in their niche. It's good to have that quantifiable outcome to start with. So if you've got the 500,000, when you pass over, the best 1,000 of the market, you literally have the best 1,000 of 500,000 if they're all the same skill set, obviously. So the first question is, how many candidates are in your market? So from a business owner perspective, if we turn it on its head, and one of the things that I always like to do in business myself and with members, with clients, is to think almost negatively. So let's turn it on its head. How many candidates are you missing out on? Now, how many placement fees are you missing out on? Now, there might be just an esoteric number right now, but we're going to drill down. So what coverage of your market do you have, of your candidate market? So as we discussed on the client side, one of the outcomes I want for each recruitment or search or staffing business we work with is to have predictability and then be able to build with predictability. So the client side we've covered. And from a candidate side, how many candidates are there? How many do I have access to? And once we've got those numbers, then we can decide what system shall we use to automate that inbound candidate process. So we can either fill the open roles or the roles we've created by another strategy, like, for example, what we've just been through. And if it's a candidate-driven market, we can access the best of the candidates at will and send across the best of the best at will, the passive candidates. So with the economy right now, you're going to be in a place where you 100% want the best of the best candidates. So first off, the bigger the candidate pool, the bigger the opportunity. So whether you're in a market right now where 90% of your candidates are employed and 10% are not, or whether it's the other way around, that actually doesn't matter. The first thing is, what is the total market? Okay, what's the total market? So there's a couple of reasons we want to do this, but if I'm taking a business owner perspective of this, one of them is this. When you convert a client, which I'll come to, and you can demonstrate you've got virtually 90% to 100% of the candidates in your market, in your data set, in your ecosystem, in your nurturing process, you'll probably convert at 100%. And I'll show you that shortly. But also, when you've got that number, when you do indeed pass across the 6 candidates, you're not guessing. You can say with conviction, these are the best 6. And there's another component to this, and one is this. I don't know you, we've not met, and I don't know what your outcome is. But typically the outcome is, for someone that we engage with from a recruitment agency, search agency perspective, is there's one or two angles that they're looking at. One is we want to get into more revenue, more profit. And secondly, what's the 3-year vision? Is it to create a cash machine or run a business as a CEO? Or is it to actually create a sellable asset? Now, data, you know this. If you don't, you will do. Data is key. So it's a no-lose situation, but it's a double lose situation if you don't do it. So the first outcome is we want this bigger candidate pool. Now, later on again, I'm going to show you some of the niches. So if you say my niche is different, I'm going to call BS on you, okay? And I'm willing to be challenged on that whenever you like. But let's jump in. So let's take a business scenario, okay? A business scenario. Now, again, we work in every single niche you can shake a stick at. But I'm taking this example as a generic. So we're in private equity, venture capital. A C-suite role opportunity has come in through the RRR steps we've shown previously, and the typical recruiter or search specialist, maybe you, they might get onto LinkedIn, they may scour the contacts. The day goes by and no positive responses, or they're reaching out to their network, and bit by bit the hours are slipping, and it feels like the opportunity is slipping. Now, when we're creating a business in this fashion, what do? We access the data set we previously built. So we literally segment our data set, and it might bring back 37 candidates, might bring back 6, might bring back 370 candidates. I don't know what your role is. And we then run a 3 to 5 step automated campaign, could even be up to 7 steps, that's been run before. So that in simple terms means 6, I'm just going for the average here, 6 emails which have been proven before. So we know this template gets an open rate, reply rate of X, then the second message gets a reply rate of X, third, etc. I mentioned on a previous slide around most of the leads from the client side come in messages 4 to 6. Now with the candidate side, depending on what market you're in, the figures can be heavily weighted on the automated follow-up, as in messages 3, 4, and 5, where you get most responses. So it depends who you're dealing with. But let's just go with this example right now. So as an example, end of day 1, we have 20 responses. No stress, ultra targeted, as we have 90% of the candidates and we have them segmented. Now that figure, by the way, that figure of 20 responses is a real life figure for private equity, for venture capital right now, okay? Excuse me. So that's the actual figure right now that one of our members is getting in this niche. So if you think about the ways we discussed previously, there are ways you can 2x, 10x your client development side. Now, we're focusing on maths here, we're focusing on leverage. So let's go through this business scenario from a candidate. So this role comes in, now let's play it out. So first thing is this. What we've done is we've mapped the market. We know if we're dealing with, say, VC, PE in New York and C-suite roles, and let's say there are 30 companies that we want to get our candidate from. So the client stipulated that the background has to be in this sub-niche or from this company, etc. So we might have 30 of these as an example, okay? We've mapped out these companies. So we've got an equivalent of this mapping. So if you're in search, you know that this is gold, and you demonstrate this to the client. You've got this, across multiple companies, absolute gold. So we've got our market mapped out. We've got the industry of VC, PE, venture capital, private equity. The location is New York, and the particular role we're going for, just keeping it generic for now, is a C-suite role, okay? And we've done this for 30 companies. And each of these, of course, has a name, has contact details, etc. They're in our database, they're in our LinkedIn network, they're in our ecosystem. Ideally, we've been nurturing them for 6 months, a year too, but let's just say it's completely cold. Now, if we drill down again, so let's take this example. And if we take across country, so I'm not sure what country you're in, but I'm just taking these are some numbers that may or may not be relevant for you in this niche. But if we look at up here, we've got a PE VC CFO role in the UK. There are 436 of them. The typical recruitment or search database will have 108. That means there's a gap of 328. Now, with our member, when they arrived, they built their data set immediately to 402. So on average, he's got 294 more than the average company in this niche. Now you can drive through here. So again, we've got in this case, the specifics of this this role is 3698 in the USA, and our member has 3401. Okay, and you can see just how it plays out. Then we've got private equity, VC, CEO. Then we've got company head, we've got CEO, etc. So the role is the up here. The role is the recruitment search business owner requirement. So this is what they're looking for. And again, the typical recruitment business database is what the average company will have. This is the gap the average company will have, what they're missing out on. And this is what an average member will have. Well, these are actual numbers for members, but this is the gap here that we've got. So the average company is 108. We've 402. We've got an additional 294. Okay, so we've got 3 times. And you can see how it plays out. So the USA, 434. We've got 3,401. So you can see the gap 2967. So you can see the difference here. So as a starting point, we've got this vast barrel. Now, this helps you grow rapidly and with less hours. So you've got a mapping for each organization in your niche. Now, this is gold, as I say in search, absolute gold. You've got that mapping. You may have this, you may not, but you know when you work with in the search side of things, this type of information and clearly demonstrable is absolute gold. Excuse me. Now next, you've got the exact names and numbers of each candidate for each position in each company. So in the entire niche. So you know everyone who could fill this role. And you have them in your database, in your LinkedIn network, in your ecosystem, etc. Number 3, you have the ability to segment. It's an automated campaign to exactly who your client wants. So the exact skill set, the exact company background, etc. The exact. So we've got the nail on the head. We're not trying to get any response. We're not trying to get the first 6 responses on LinkedIn from emails. We've got the exact fit. You can have the exact metrics and responses within hours. So what that means is when you start a campaign, once you've gone through anywhere from, it can be up to, 8-9 cycles till you get your numbers spot on. It might be quicker than that, but you're going to know exactly what the response metrics are going to be. So you're going to be able to predict what the number of candidates you're going to get into your inbox, which becomes really, really cool when you're either outsourcing this to a commission-only recruiter. So some of our members focus on bringing in the client leads, and they get the role. So they've got the role, and then they bring in the candidates, and they've got, say, 15 responses to candidates. Then they hand it over to a commission-only recruiter, obviously a contract in place, and the recruiter at that point, their role is to deliver the candidate to the client and essentially get the deal over the line. And some of our members work at a 50-50 fee, which is great. So from finding very, very good talent to do this for you becomes very easy, because they're not chasing any clients. The candidates come in and the conversion process is laid out, but that means that you can then scale. So if you can 10-20x the leads coming in, 10-20x the candidates coming in, that means you can 10-20x deals, but get 50% of them without actually doing the horrible work. It becomes very appealing. Now, I'm not going to cover that on this, on these sessions, but just to open up why these exact metrics are important. And again, we can start this process within minutes rather than days. Now, I don't know what you do right now, but compare it to what you do right now. Compare it to what you do right now. And again, often I'll share some feedback with you and shortly. Often we are the coaches to the recruitment coaches, and nobody does the things that we've done. And when we have someone trying to even maybe model what we've done, we're already on to the next quote thing. With COVID, I've had to up my game and create new strategies, but compares to what you're doing right now, okay? So right now. So we've got a slow way. So if you've got no client data or candidate data set, you're using outdated methods. Then we've got the fast way. So we've got this data set, we simply segment, we upload, we click send with a proven template. That sounds very simple. And we need to make sure that the metrics become clear, but that's essentially what we're doing. So in terms of the mass equation for this, how many placements have you missed this year? Now, again, I said earlier, the question, how many you missed this year, is not something we generally think about. We think about the how many do I need, or how many am I going to get? And the figure is not something we generally work out. However, without ego jumping in, and hopefully this is not coming from ego, but one thing I'm very good at is reverse engineering the steps and an outcome and then working backwards. So again, if our outcome is to get to 1 million or to whatever your figure is, how can you stipulate that figure without being clear what the numbers are of client side, the numbers from candidate side? The two must match. So when we say how many placements have you missed this year, you probably aren't going to know the number, and it's not in any way to catch anyone out, but it's to get us thinking in a different way. Now, again, when I came into the recruitment search industry, I was blown away by the way it was set up, and it was purely luck. I've had a lot of luck in my life that I came in, and especially at that time, to see what the playing field looked like. So when we look at things in a different way, we tend to see a different method. So how many have we missed missed this year. So that really comes down to the next figure being, what's the revenue profit figure that we've missed this year. So it's easy to say why something's happened. So I just want you to think about that and let the neural pathway start to work in a different way. Just to recap again, we're going to talk about a campaign like we did with the client side. So just very quickly, we focus on the client video. A campaign is what we do when you need a targeted set of candidates in this case, and sometimes in volume and quickly. So that's what we're going to focus on. And again, with the client side, we're going to focus on just one strategy, double R. So we don't have the time to go through in detail of many other strategies, but we're just going to focus on continuing the role play of the European, or it could be a USA, but VC, PE market as an example, okay? So let's do just that. Let's focus on that. So in this case, we're going to input 907 candidates and place 3 roles. So the campaign value is 195,000. Now these are figures which are not pulled out of the air. These are real figures from a current member, okay? And a bit like with the client side, you're going to recognize the flow here. And again, I'm not giving you the actual the flow as such. I'm giving you a screenshot so you can work through this, okay? You can work through this yourself. So when you look at these numbers, so in the candidate side, we've got 1,098. So CFOs in the European market. Let's come back, okay? So CFOs and in the European market is 1,098, okay, in the market. We got 907 in our database, okay? So we're missing just a handful compared to most of our competitors have just 98. So it's 1,098, we've got 907 we can use. We've done that first step, okay? So we come down. So in our database, 907. So we're gonna, in this case, we're gonna send to all 907, Now our open rate in this case, engage rate, is 60%. So it's 544 open. We get a 33% reply rate, which is 180. Then we get the A's and the B's. So again, the A's are the target candidate, correct experience, positive response, open to the role now. Target candidate for the B's, correct experience, positive response, open to the role with some conditions. So we've got here, A's, we got 18, B's, we got 36, and C's we're not too interested in right now. So we've got 54 we want to follow up with, okay? So we want to get into an appointment mode with these candidates. These are C-suite candidates. So, if we're dealing with, say, administrative roles, or maybe all the way up to sort of low-level account manager roles, sales account manager roles, you could automate this process and filter down to another level before we actually engage and speak to them. In this case, we're dealing with C-suite, either ourselves or indeed a commissioning recruiter or one of our team would actually engage and speak to these C-suite candidates in this case. And also, these candidates will also potentially be hiring in the future. So when someone is a client and also a candidate, either now or in the future, I term them a senior candidate. You could term them whatever name you like, but I term them as senior candidates. So we've got to be aware that these candidates are, although being approached about this role, we're also aware that the relationship we have with these candidates could indeed open a door moving forward if they do move, but also in their existing business and they don't move, we need to be aware that they may well be a decision maker for us in the future. So we need to play this really carefully. So we do that. That's why we bring the human effort forward in this case. So we've got in this case 54. Now the appointments we've attained are 75%, 41. Of those, 20 are interested, and we forwarded 7. Again, we've got 3 roles at this point, okay? We forwarded just 7. Now, the context to why we didn't forward more, I'm not going to go through right now, but in this case, we forwarded 7, okay? Of those 7, 5 were interviewed. And 3 were placed. And this is the fee. So we've got a fee of 65k per role, and we've got this number here. So that's pretty good. Now, the person who runs it in this way, didn't do this the first time. All cards on the table. This took some time to get to this sort of slickness. So this took some work to get here. But the point I'm making to you is it becomes a set of numbers and it becomes sequential. Say, for example, in this case, the open rate, engage rate was 10%. That's the first thing we may work on. If the data set was 100, not 907, that's what we work on. If we are only able to get 10% appointments, then we work on that. So we focus on working on one of these at a time. That's how the scale happens, by focusing on that one number. But then when it's fixed, it becomes repeatable. In this case, this member came to me doing 30k a month with the outcome of getting to 300k a month in terms of roles coming in. And we're fortunately in that place. So this member also, by the way, was in a completely different niche to start with. The reason why we're now in PE VC market is because the decision-making process is a lot quicker than the previous market he was in, which I won't go through right now, but it's due to the economic playing field we're in. So again, my outcome for him is to get paid quickly and to be in control of the process and less middlemen. So just give you an example there. Now, hopefully this is starting to percolate. I've could have made these videos into very short, sharp marketing bullshit, but those who watch these videos and get this are those I actually want to spend my time with and move forward with. And I'm not interested in Johnny come latelys at all. So hopefully it's starting to percolate. The maths and the science of this is what I'm interested in. And the word truth, especially now, truth is a bastardized word, but these are facts. So I don't know how you judge your business, but I urge my members to judge their business every 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and of course yearly, based on metrics, but ultimately it's finances. Your year comes down to what's in the bank, and you should never lose sight of that. So I don't know your current state, but you can see these numbers drive to an outcome, which is the finances. So you must run your business, in this way, even more so now. Or there is a risk you're going to get crushed. And again, it's not to instill any sort of fear. There's enough of that going on in the world right now. I'm not built that way. It's purely to demonstrate that you're talking to someone who's made every mistake you can imagine in terms of being an entrepreneur. And I'm making mistakes every day now, and I'll continue to make many mistakes moving forward. However, I'm very clear on an outcome should be reverse engineered, and I'm very clear on a business owner should be very clear on their outcome and then reverse engineer what needs to happen. And often we complicate these things. We add in lots of shiny objects and lots of peripherals. And there's a case, some of our members focus on authority. We're not doing that here, but you must have this control. You must have this control. So the benefits of running whether it be your recruitment or your search business in this way, I've not overly played on staffing, but you can see the implication here. To get the high clients, high quality clients, and indeed the high quality, premium roles, and indeed the premium candidates, you can see how this comes together. So if we look at the client roles, in the business development side of things, we often get hung up on, more bums on seats, lunches, well, those days might be gone. But we want to break this down to simplicity. So there's a trifactor. There's a trifactor here. And number one is the quality. So you want the top companies, ideally want to know they're hiring or about to hire. And we want direct to the decision makers. And we want as much of this automated. I've said fully automated, but I'm focusing on the lead side here again. Okay, not on the conversion piece. So the numbers I've shared with you, you can now see when we talk about getting to 20 to 400x the volume of standard methods, you can see this is not over-egging this at all. So what we need, number one, is the quality. So you want market coverage of 90%. So that means whatever the size of your client market, you've got multiple niches, we want 90% of those clients in your data set, in your ecosystem. Next, we want direct to decision maker every time. So if HR are part of that decision-making process, don't try and put it under the carpet. Bring it into the conversion process, whether it's inside your client attainment system, your CAS, which I've not covered in detail, in any sort of form here, or whether it be in terms of your conversion process. Bring them into it. Next, the volume. Comparing your business to one-man business, or indeed you may be a 25-man business, but you focus on having 15 desks. But each desk essentially is ran in a traditional way, even a 360 way. You can see if we're on the starting blocks, who's going to win this game? 360 will win probably on day one. They're going to speak to more clients with a little black book. They're going to get more done day one. However, let's speak on day 30, day 60, day 90, etc. Move on. So the client leads, the quality of the leads. So you're in control completely of what you're focusing on. So the 90% of the market. So you can select the exact company. You can select the exact decision maker. So the quality of the lead goes through the roof. We're not treating every LinkedIn profile or every contact or every lead the same. The ability to scale, replicate, so you can run multiple client lead campaigns in sync. So what that means is you might be able to run, let's say you've got 3 sub niches. Let's say that if you broke it down into one of your niches is private equity, one is sovereign and one is venture capital. There may be 3 sub niches for you. You could run 3 campaigns at the same time. And you could run 3 corresponding candidate campaigns at the same time. So if you know that these clients are going to need this type of candidate, then you can run essentially 6 campaigns there at once. And then bring in the leads, bring in the candidates, and pass them to commission and recruiter. Again, I'm not covering this here, but just to open your eyes. And it's about this is where the scale comes from, and moving our role from being what was a recruiter into really being a business owner. Number 2, the cost. So the value of your role and your time. So what this gives you is the ability to prioritize roles. So you're able to focus on what is best for your business rather than what's easy or who you have access to. I'll say it again. So you prioritize the roles on what is best for your business rather than who is easy or who you have access to. Often a role comes in and it's not a fit for our business, but we still do it because we need the money and we get into this job mode. But we can start to actually create this predictable process where you can prioritize your roles and not just take what comes in. You've got more coming in, but more focused on what's coming in. And what comes in, you've got the corresponding candidates. If you've got a team underneath you, you can allocate the roles to your team. Next, business development. So in terms of the cost here, it's reduced hugely. Now, I mentioned the business that was doing over 8 figures, from 35 staff down to 7. In their own words, the most important person in our business is the VA. Now, there's a little bit of tongue in cheek there, but the business development side of things completely changed. So that's why we have these teams going from large teams down to single digits. Now, again, I'm not saying that you change the structure. I don't know you, but I'm saying what was open. For example, when we test this at scale, if you even took, say, 15 desks and you apply this across 15 desks, so each person has their own mini version of this. Pretty powerful, huh? So again, cost. You filter out who is hiring. You filter out who will be hiring. You don't treat everyone the same. So that drains effort, it kills morale, especially working remotely. People then get poor productivity. Then we get into a place of we then make bad decisions, and then we start to get into that Ferris wheel of a downward spiral. Cost, automated follow-up. So it removes the human costs and human mistakes. So your business development is truly predictable. I must follow up with so-and-so. I must do this. When it's automated, that nurturing will happen. That follow-up will happen. So it's going to save you not only your human time, but also it's going to save you time because it will get done and you will not miss the role because you did not follow up. So take that across 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 roles across a year, whatever your numbers are. It starts to become pretty clear. Speed, third component. So we want leads immediately. We want inbound immediately. We want scale pretty much on demand. Now, those terms are something that's being bastardized. Very open about my background. I've been in this now since 1996 in terms of digital, but because of the prevalence of people getting onto quote digital and they're using these words, things like on demand become a bastardized word. However, this is coming from in my case, a corporate background, investment banking, media, systems engineering is on demand. It's not some bullshit, scammy rubbish. So when we talk about on demand, it means, right, I need to get leads in. Right, I can access this data set. If I then run this campaign, I know that I'm going to get these numbers, etc. So we get immediate leads, but also we get these figures that we can then talk about scaling, as long as we've got the components in place to scale, which is a completely different conversation. So with speed, we can identify, qualify, and attract 90% of all clients. So again, this takes minutes. So you can identify who you want to access. You can qualify them with an automated process. I said just now with the CEOs, we speak to them further in the process. If you're dealing with maybe media sales, you can qualify further downstream. So we identify, are they hiring without speaking to them earlier. But with this, C-suite, we don't want to negate that authority. Next, starting a campaign in minutes again. And I mentioned before, often the conversion, the response comes in the later messages. So we need to be aware of these things, but you wouldn't know what you won't know because you won't have these numbers. Test a new MPC campaign, so most placeable candidates. So that means if you've got a stellar candidate and you want to send it out to your best clients, you can send that candidate out literally within minutes and get a response same day, within a day, rather than weeks for that candidate. So a great candidate comes in, boom, straight out the door. Getting leads in first day. This is common. This is common, getting leads in first day. I'm not saying that that's what is always even the best thing. I think the best thing is to get a process working whereby once it's working, you can then replicate it and scale it, but repeat the same process for over a year. And I said before, it might take 6, 7, 8 cycles. So it might take 6, 7, 8 weeks, but then you've got something you can literally rinse and repeat over and over again. But what it does do is remove that feast and famine, that up and down. So if you've got the ability to understand you're a business owner and it's about having something that you can run and it becomes predictable, feast and famine will be gone.